Oh
my
yeah, oh
God.
yeah. The Power Glove by Black Dominatrix. You know what I mean? Like Leather Mama, and you're like, no,
Yeah.
no. This one was by Nintendo, and they're like, yeah, that's what I meant. That's what.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But
Just when you're looking to punch some balloon knots.
that's that's exactly right, dude.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Tether Radio podcast, the only podcast keeping you from spiraling out into the infinite abyss. I'm your host, Daniel, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and co-host, Joseph. What up, dude?
Good morning.
Good morning. Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning to ya. How you doing, man?
Doing well, man. I had a pretty solid week. We decided to make chicken wings on Friday.
Wings.
They were gut busting like normal.
Yeah, man.
The problem is I had to work on Saturday, so I thought I had most of it out of my system, and then I ate my lunch, and my intestines started like cramping, and I was like, "Oh God, no!"
Right.
Because,
Right.
dude, this last batch, holy moly, man! They've never been hot enough to make my eyes water, and these were making my eyes water.
So what was the missing ingredient? What was the missing piece?
Hellfire. No. No, so I've started doing this thing that basically we'll use that Texas Pete hotter than hot, and I'll use not equal parts, but a ratio of like a bottle of that to one bottle of the wing sauce.
Okay.
And then,
Dude, are you giving away the secret recipe?
yeah,
You
yeah,
fucking
right.
sucker. Ooh, okay. All right. Interesting. And then what happens?
And yeah, and then I spritz a little garlic on top,
Yeah.
some garlic
Like,
juice.
shh. Just like Nana used to do. Shh.
No, man, but they were fucking hot. And we made fried pickles for the first time, and they were awesome.
You bad.
Like, yeah, we basically just fried everything that we could think of because I always hate wasting the oil.
Right.
Shit's expensive, man. A gallon of
What, a peanut
No,
oil?
we stopped using peanut because there's no reason to use peanut over like canola, and canola is substantially cheaper. So
Yikes. Yikes.
But yeah. So it worked out. It was good. It was we've got some decent bit of leftovers. They might still be here when you get in town. So
Yeah. Well, I'm in, man. I'm in.
yeah. But anyway, how was your week, man?
It was good. It
Yeah.
was good. It was busy. It was good. Just doing the damn thing, man.
Yeah.
Getting shit done and making it happen.
Rock and roll.
So all good. Looking forward to next week. It's gonna be a great week. Seeing
Yeah.
everybody doing the thing.
Happy 4th in advance to all the Tether Radio listeners. Be responsible with your drinking and only drink one drink at a time.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Make sure, be responsible with your drinking. Always order a beer back for every shot.
Yeah.
You know?
Be sure to wash down your liquor with a beer.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Cool, man. Well, this has been an interesting week, full of some serious fucking shit, man. So
Yeah.
should we dive in? Should we take the gloves off?
Yeah, dude. I say we take the this is a small step for Tether Radio, but a giant leap for mankind.
Break it off.
All right, man. Here we go. So From this, I pulled this first one from the Independent, the UK publication. Man urinating on man urinating onto tourist boat from bridge causes several injuries. So this dude just decided to target this pleasure cruise on the River Spree in Berlin.
Okay.
And so he just drops trowel, man, and takes a leak off the side of the bridge. Well, there were 4 people that apparently either saw the golden shower coming, or I don't even know what, and they jumped up. Well, since they were passing under the bridge, they literally hit their heads on the fucking bridge. So this dude's spraying some tink, and they're trying to avoid him. And I mean, it sounds like a fucking like whatever Benny Hill like skit,
God.
you know. But
so yeah, right. 16 rescue workers attended the scene. Police described the incident as abnormal and said the guest had, or the suspect had not been identified.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. He's a mad pisser, man, and he, you know, I don't know. We don't know. He's still at large, so watch out if you're taking any pleasure cruises in Berlin. You know, you might get a little tink in the hair.
Do you remember that video that we had? It was like a year ago, where the Brazilian president was like, "Carnival has gotten out of control," and then he tweeted a video of two dudes at Carnival like grinding on each other, and then the other one just turns around and the other one just pees in his hair. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Just like what?
I mean, that's so fucking like foreign to me that I don't get it in the fucking least, dude. I mean, like, I've been really drunk. I've been, you know, out of my mind on you know, psychedelics at one point kind of thing, and I've never had the urge to drop trowel, dude, and piss on somebody.
Yeah. You know? Well, it's I think there was a little something more going on than just that, but
yeah, because if my memory serves me correctly, didn't one of the dudes have on like some bondage gear or something?
Yeah, it was a serious scene.
Yeah,
a serious scene, but
yeah, dude, But anyway, so the Berlin Fire Department tweeted out, as a pleasure boat on the Spree passed under a bridge, a person urinated from above on the ship. Several people jumped up and were injured while passing through. 4 people were taken to the hospital by ambulance. I mean, it's like, that would just suck to like, you know, why are you being admitted to the hospital? Somebody pissed at me. And I jumped up and hit my head. It's like, man, what the fuck?
That's amazing.
So we'll move on. We'll move on to this second one. I thought this one was pretty fucking incredible. So this comes out of Oklahoma. It's the KFOR. I don't know who they're an affiliate of, but News 4 out of Oklahoma. And it was. It was titled, "Former Patient Says Oklahoma Chiropractor Upset About Online 3-Star Review." So, this guy goes to the chiropractor in Oklahoma and decided to leave a review for him. And he left like a 5-star, like, good review. And so then the guy went back to the chiropractor, and his like second experience wasn't really that great, kind of thing. And he was like, well, you know, 1 out of 2, what, you know, of my experiences were, you know, super good, kind of thing. So I'm gonna back it down to a 3-star review. And so he put, let's see, I wanna quote the review or whatever. Okay, here it is. Nothing extraordinary in the end, but I ended up going elsewhere to be treated. Everyone ought to try physical therapy, chiropractors, to find what works for them. So, I mean, pretty benign in my opinion.
Right, right.
It's not like he was like, oh, he cracked my neck and I was, I couldn't move for 3 days or something afterward. But anyway, so the Dr. Crane, which, by the way, chiropractors aren't doctors. So just for all listeners out there, they're not doctors. But anyway, Dr. Crane took offense and replied with, "I wish I hadn't wasted my time on this because I didn't realize you were so stupid. You were dismissed as a patient. Stick to urgent care, moron. You don't get it." The fucking chiropractor replied on whatever review site that they were using with that.
P.S. Thanks for calling the news.
Yeah,
Talk about an overreaction.
Yeah, so he went back and edited the review and added that portion after this guy, I can't remember his last name's Brown, but Andrew Brown. After he went on and contacted the news, and then the news contacted Dr. Crane or whatever.
Wait. Someone claiming to be the owner of Mustang Chiropractic also responded to somebody who left a 1-star review calling them a coward, along with "Karma will pay you back tenfold. Kill yourself." Jesus Christ, man.
I mean, dude, these fools are out of control, man. But yeah, so anyway, so apparently Andrew Brown and his wife went to this used to go to this chiropractor.
Right,
and so the news contacted the chiropractor office, and an employee told him, "Dr. Crane has over 100 5-star reviews. This is a non-story and reflective on the state of journalistic standards today."
But look at the picture. So this article is from KFOR.com, right? Mm-hmm. Oklahoma's news,
yeah.
Channel 4. But if you look at the little thumbnail or the kind of starter image on the video,
yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you see how Mustang Chiropractic is just a printed banner that's like over another sign?
Yeah. It used to be like a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was like a Golden Corral.
Yeah.
But like...
Oh my God. Yeah, if you don't mind, come into our waiting room. Mr. Brown, we're ready for you on Buffet Aisle 2.
What do you think, though? Do you think that people put too much of an emphasis on the Yelp, the review sites, the Yelps and the review sites of the world?
I don't know. Sometimes, so this is. I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day about movie reviews and like looking at reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and like IMDb and Metacritic.
Oh yeah,
the
thermometer.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's it called? It's
no, it's called it's actually called the tomato meter, but I always called it the thermometer because it just seems like it sounds better. But
right.
Anyway, so they were like, I feel like if you want a good idea of like whether or not a movie is good, you look at the like middle of the ground reviews that literally gave it anywhere from like a 4 to 6 kind of thing.
Right.
And then you read and so because you don't have these like spazoid fanboys that are giving it 10s and they're like, must see, go, quit your job if you can't go today or whatever. And then you have these other people that probably like whatever hate an actor's political view or something, and they're like, oh, well, Robert De Niro's an idiot, or whatever, that are going to give a movie 1 because of something that's completely irrelevant to, the actual movie review kind of thing.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, I like looking at that stuff to just get like an idea of, whether or not I might like a place or something. But I think that, I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy how much like bad reviews can affect a business, though. But to answer your question, I would say yes. Probably people do put a little too much emphasis because everybody's going to have a different experience, and everybody has different standards. So, but yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I think that I think this is pretty incredible because so they didn't drop it at Dr. Crane, in quotation marks, doctor.
If you are a real doctor.
If you are a real doctor. But anyways, so a man calling himself Dr. Crane left a voicemail message for Brown's wife. And so he called and supposedly he said he didn't realize what he was doing. He messed up my ratings. I'm pissed off about it. Help me out here. Tell him to go change his review or just delete it. Just absolutely incredible, dude. I mean, like, especially if that's like one. I mean, like, I feel like if a business only has 5-star reviews, then it's like they probably paid for them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, so it was just, I don't know, kind of incredible if you, it's. I just think that it's really incredible that he'd get his like panties in a wad over a 3-star review that wasn't even like whatever, like a belligerent review.
Right.
But
well,
anyway,
yeah. I think that people are I don't know. It seems like people get way too ramped up over this stuff,
Yeah.
But that being said, man, I mean, there was a few years ago I was running a business, and long story short, I got this review on Yelp where somebody was like, I've never done this. It was like so we were running like a what do you call them? Like a bar bike, where like 15 people sit around and pedal all at the same time and whatever. And
petty wagon, right?
Yeah, the petty wagon is what it's called. Yeah, I was in my 20s and running this business, and we had all this. And somebody was like, I've never done this before, but it's so stupid that da 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 da. It was just like they had never. It was just, they were just being an asshole. But it's like what's funny is there's a mechanism to actually get those just taken off anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like unless something just has like a ton of shitty reviews, it just seems like an overkill. You know.
No, I completely agree, man. I completely
They're like,
agree.
oh, you messed up my perfect record.
Yeah, most of the time you're gonna go by like word of mouth anyway. I mean, like, or at least I would normally do that. You hear from like a friend or something that a restaurant's good or whatever. I would go check it out, kind of thing, and I probably wouldn't Yelp it or whatever.
Right.
So
right.
But,
true. So this
yeah.
next topic here is on the topic of synthetic fraud.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of this?
No, I haven't, dude. Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you paint me a little picture?
So it comes from the A16Z podcast. A16Z is a venture fund called Andreessen Horowitz. And they run a podcast that has some of their portfolio companies that they'll do interviews with and kind of talk about some of the stuff that they're working on. And I thought this one was really, really interesting because it is an evolution in fraud, right? And so traditionally a popular way of defrauding folks is to steal identities, right? So they get the fraudsters get your social, get your social or, some identifying information around you, address, phone number, whatever. And they start to, kind of elbow in on your credit, potentially, getting credit cards that are delivered to different addresses, using that, opening credit lines. Some go as far as lines of credit, mortgages, just crazy shit, right? So synthetic fraud is a long con. And this is like really interesting shit. So basically what fraudsters are doing is they are creating people. They are creating actual new applicants for credit, okay? And they're taking advantage of the fact that the way that different rating agencies report back to different banks. It's rare for certain banks and certain financial institutions to check all three rating agencies, right? And so what they'll do is they'll create a social. This is done with a ton of research, right? And they'll apply for credit for the first time. Okay, they will get a credit card issued. So this is a fake name, right, attached to a social that is showing up for the first time in their system. Okay, then they will make purchases and pay the credit card or credit line down over years, okay, until they have a credit rating that's north of 750, right?
Yeah.
So they're literally building a credit rating from the ground up, okay? And then they'll take a huge loan out and ghost.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so this is something that sometimes takes years to pull off, right?
Yeah.
But it's like they were saying, some of the fraud has gotten so complex that there was a group of fraudsters that was building families, right?
Oh,
so
wow.
They would have like a mom and a dad who, based on their social and birth date, would be in their 60s, right? And then they would have 2 or 3 kids that were all in their 20s, right?
Yeah.
And all of these socials would have credit and would be building, credit or whatever. And then they would, pull out these more substantial loans or substantial, lines of credit or whatever, and then would just ghost. And so here was the other thing that's like that I thought was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
That shape of behavior is also exactly what it would look like if somebody just ran into financial hardship, right? Because they would be paying, and then all of a sudden they would just have the inability to pay. They would become over leveraged and just have the inability to pay, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't even necessarily trigger, some in-depth response.
Yeah.
Because it's the same shape as somebody who's just having a financial hardship.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah. No, that's super super interesting. Just because I mean I didn't realize. I mean I figured fraud stuff or defrauding was a super short term kind of thing, that it's just like get in, get out, and whatever or at least I guess when I think of identity theft and all that jazz, it's like, oh, somebody makes a purchase on your credit card, and it's like, okay, they might get that 1 or 2 purchases kind of thing, but then you're kind of protected,
right?
And just the fact that they would like be defrauding you for like months or years or whatever. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely,
But
man. Absolutely. So there is a
so,
company that started up to try to defend against this synthetic fraud, right?
hmm hmm
And so yeah, super, super interesting stuff.
yeah, yeah, that's bizarre.
Yep, yep, yep.
But well, speaking of getting personal data, we're gonna hop back on the data train with
Yeah, I didn't really understand this.
so yeah, I don't understand why people would be okay with this, but anyway, we'll hop right in. I pulled
Right.
this one from TechCrunch. Spotify needs to crack down on labels snatching user data. So basically, which, and I wasn't even familiar with this function, and I think that it's kind of a stupid function in the first place. But anyway, so Spotify has actually been allowing music labels, like for instance, Universal Music or like Sony's label. And they found that when people would want to or try to opt into pre-saving on Spotify, that they would have to okay these labels and give them permissions. And these permissions are like completely out of scope for what's needed. But they would say that like you agree that Universal Music will be able to view your Spotify account data, aka your date of birth, your email, your public playlists. They would be able to view your activity on Spotify, who you follow, what you've saved in your library, tracks you've recently played, and like your top tracks and artists.
Uh-huh.
And so that stuff, maybe, but even that shit, it's completely irrelevant to what purpose you're actually opting into with the pre-saving thing.
Okay.
But you also would give them the ability to take actions in Spotify on your behalf, create, edit, and follow playlists, manage who you follow on Spotify, and add or remove items from your library.
Okay.
So basically, you would be giving whatever the music label that you're trying to pre-save this content from complete control over your Spotify account.
So what does that mean, pre-save this content?
So yeah, that was I had to look that shit up because I was like, I mean, with streaming, it's either available or it's not, right? So
Right, but are you getting in a queue to get this content,
so this is what
as soon as it's released, or what's the
so this is what it literally means. If you pre-save something on Spotify, then it means as soon as that content is actually available, it'll be added to your library. That's literally all it means.
right, right.
So it's one of these things that I guess it's one of, I don't know. We had this ongoing conversation on Tether that it's like the shit that people are willing to give up for like what is veiled in convenience is
Right.
just insane.
Right, right.
Because I mean, like, in my opinion, how hard is it to just like put a fucking reminder on your calendar that, for instance, the thing that they, well, I don't want to promote any artists, so I'm not going to use any names. But,
Right, right.
but anyway, so of whatever artist A has an album coming out on the 21st, just throw a fucking reminder in your phone that to add it to your library on the 21st. And then you don't have to fucking, give these music labels your complete control over your fucking Spotify account,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't, but I mean, that just seems like, I don't know. It seems like something that, um, I don't know. It makes sense. It makes sense that somebody would figure out a way to kind of, hack something like that,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And so this was something else that was kind of weird because, of course, in all these articles, I like to look at the comments and just see what the conversation is. But, well, I'm sorry, I'll get to that right after I mentioned this part, but they had in the article, in reality, the only permission a pre-save app should need is to be able to add the song you want to pre-save to your library.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so they said that anything else is theoretically prohibited by Spotify's developer policy, section 5.2. And quote, you will only request the data you need to operate your Spotify developer application.
Okay.
So I would think that this would be prohibited because this seems like complete and utter like overreach by labels, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably. But I mean,
thought that
this
was
is
kind of interesting.
I think probably, but I think that I mean, this is the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just push it as far as you can possibly go, and you just wait to be, you know, told otherwise, right?
And basically the old adage of better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah, I
Kind of
mean,
thing.
you know, these companies, I just think that this is it's all so poorly defined.
Mm-hmm.
Or if not poorly defined, you know, definitely, you know, not enforced,
Mm-hmm.
as it could be, or maybe as it should be, according to, you know, like the licensing agreement or whatever that you just mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I think that you know, it makes sense to me that these companies are going to roll in and say, you know, we don't give a shit. We're gonna push it as far as we want, and then just see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it is, and you know, by the way, even if Spotify comes in and it was Sony doing this.
Yes, so they specifically mentioned Sony, and they actually had a thumbnail or whatever within the article that Universal Music also.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, even Universal or Sony or whatever, even if they get slapped on the wrist, they're just gonna tweak the permissions, and then, you know, what they have access to in your account will just go away, right?
yeah,
But that, you know, they're gonna wait to get slapped on the wrist before they're gonna do anything about it, you know?
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, that's just kind of the world we're living in right now, you know?
Well, so
all these
this
folks are
is
going to push it as far as they possibly can.
yeah, and so this was so I would like I mentioned earlier, I you know, I kind of dabble in the comments a little bit just to see what the conversation is there. And this person, Alex P, wrote, the person who wrote this article obviously has no clue how APIs work, nor did he do any research prior to posting his opinion. None of the data is ever exposed or decrypted, and it can never be viewed by Sony. Data remains encrypted and never leaves Spotify's database, meaning that there is no way to ever recognize any user who logs in using this API. Using the API for marketing purposes is literally impossible. Can you comment on that? Because I don't really know how APIs work.
Yeah, so
Is that actually legit, or?
it depends on, I would say it depends on what the API is exposing.
Yeah.
Right? So an API, all that's going to do is give you access to, it's like a portal, like a gateway to somebody else's software, right? Yeah. And so the purpose of an API would be for you to be able to, you know, use software without, you know, literally seeing the code, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so instead you just hit this API, and, you know, you can retrieve some sort of information from, you know, or you can interact with software without, you know, having the code base, right?
So is it kind of like being able to like reskin shit almost?
Yes.
Or like reskin a software or something?
Let me give you a great example.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of Stripe?
No, I haven't
Okay.
actually.
Okay. So Stripe is a company that facilitates payments for online or for e-commerce companies. Okay.
Hmm.
And the way that Stripe works is that you have they give you, literally just a window to the Stripe system.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
But if, we're selling scuba gear or whatever, on our website, then what we do is we just use code from Stripe that's Stripe has given us to be able to access Stripe's API, but
Hmm.
we don't ever handle the credit card information.
Yeah.
The way that it works is when somebody enters the credit card information in that section of our website,
Hmm.
that information goes to Stripe's software,
Yeah.
right? And Stripe holds their information.
Hmm.
And then what we hold is called a token, right?
Hmm.
And then this token just is linked to the person that's been on our website. So
Hmm.
every time they want to come back and make another charge, it's just us giving Stripe that token,
Yeah.
and then Stripe actually makes the charge. So the credit card information is never exposed on our website ever.
Yeah.
It
God,
it
that
all
seems like like just it. I don't know. That seems like a huge vulnerability, but obviously it's
no no
not.
no.
So,
In what way? In what
well,
way?
it just seems like, well, I don't know. I don't really know since I don't
Like
have that great of
think of it
a.
like a bank tube,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Like a bank tube with a like literally an insert here above it, right?
Hmm.
So and the bank tube, let's say you've got a storefront,
Hmm.
but you don't ever want to handle money, right? And
Yeah.
so you've got a storefront that sells things, and then you've got a bank tube that goes back to somebody that just handles money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when somebody says, "I want to pay for this thing," they put it in the bank tube, and the bank tube goes back to the person who only handles money.
Yeah.
And then in that bank tube, they have a note that says, "Here, there's a 20 in the tube. The item was, cost $8. Send them 12 back."
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? You're never handling that transaction.
Yeah, plus,
So
like they mentioned, I'm sure that all this shit's fucking encrypted and whatever, so that even if you probably did gain access to it, you wouldn't have the key to decrypt it. So,
right. Well, and what they may be referencing is
hmm.
just this tokenization of what's actually happening,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So like if you hacked my site, the scuba site,
Hmm.
you might get everybody's tokens, but that
Do
doesn't
you have
mean
another side hustle? No, just
yeah,
kidding.
but that doesn't mean anything to you.
Yeah,
It's just a bunch of random, alphanumeric sequences
yeah,
that just you have no way to, interpret what that is,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, I mean, I understand, I guess what they're saying, but it just depends on, the level of access,
Hmm.
and if, again, I mean, I think that person brings up a really, really, really good point,
Hmm.
which is it's not just like it's a total free for all,
Yeah,
and they could be, and very, very, very realistically, this is what's happening. They could be just staking a claim to something they don't have access to anyway. You know
hmm,
what I mean? But just
yeah,
saying like, hey, here's what we'll do with this information if we ever have this information, but they never have the information.
yeah,
That's totally a possibility.
yeah.
Because I would imagine that something like Spotify. Um, this is actually kind of interesting. I wonder if they have just like a boilerplate, um, like off the rack
Hmm.
licensing agreement or whatever that all of the music companies kind of abide by. I don't know. Or I wonder if like as an artist, when you submit something on Spotify, I wonder if they had just have like general protections,
Hmm.
for all the artists or all the publishers, or if
Yeah,
each one is kind of made up on their, made up um, by the publisher.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Hmm. I don't know, man. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah. So they, uh, just kind of wrapping this article or whatever. At the end, they kind of this. I think this is what the, I guess, alarming part about this is. Spotify already dominates cultural mind share for streaming, having used the playlist it controls to become a hit maker and gain leverage over the labels for royalty negotiations. But turning a blind eye to shady developers just because they own the music it streams could make listeners question their loyalty and stray to Apple, which is notoriously serious about privacy. But we also covered something about Apple that it's like, I think that their bark is more than their bite in regards to actually protecting people's privacy.
Right.
In my opinion. But but the shit thing is by granting these permissions to these labels, I mean, shit, dude. Let's say you've got whatever Beyonce's on one fucking label and like whatever Ariana Grande is on another one. They would have the ability to remove Beyonce's music from your library, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously you could get it back, but then they could just remove it again, kind of thing.
Right.
Right. I don't know, man. It's just it seemed like a massive overreach for the actual function that you're okaying the permissions to for.
Yeah, I just think that this is what's
this is the future.
Yeah, I mean it is until people start really pushing back. These companies are going to grab as much as they possibly can. And I mean, who knows how successful they are? Who knows what they can actually what they're actually empowered to do. But it's going to be, I just think that's just the way that it is, man. These groups are going to do what they got to do.
Yeah. Cool deal, man. Yeah. So I'll keep an eye out on this story because I feel like they're going to get some backlash, man. If this story gains any traction, then I feel like people, I don't know if people would necessarily jump ship from Spotify and go to Apple Music,
right?
But yeah, man, I think that this will definitely some ears will perk up if people hear this shit. So
right. Well,
anywho,
yeah, we'll see. Okay, so dig this.
Yeah.
Do you remember us talking about what was it? It was deep fakes.
Yeah.
And early on, when we first covered deep fakes, there was a subreddit, r deep fakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this subreddit was shut down because deep fakes were being used to put celebrity faces on porn stars, right? Mm-hmm. Or superimpose celebrity faces in porn scenes, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think we covered what was this, a couple weeks ago, maybe, the deep fakes with politicians, and we were talking about deep fakes in the 2020 election and all that, right? Mm-hmm. And so this was an app that came out. I believe it was last week, maybe. Mm-hmm. And so this app was called Deep Nudes, right? Mm-hmm. And what it did was a picture of any woman. It would show you.
I think it was any person, right? Or was it? Oh no, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah, I think.
And only works on images of women. My bad.
Yeah. So a picture of any woman, this would kind of give you, another version of this picture. Mm-hmm. That we've got some sprinkling going on in the background. This is,
that's amazing.
Yeah. There's some serious sprinkler action going on just outside this window here. But anyway, so there was a they would like reskin the image, or I mean literally, right, and would kind of show you what this person would look like naked, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so obviously some people felt like this was an extreme invasion of privacy, and the app got shut down. And so, but the issue is that some people had already downloaded the app. So they already have the software localized on their phone or, whatever device they're using it on. It's just there wouldn't be any maintenance, for the app. So what do you think about this? What do you think about Deep Nudes? Should it have been removed? What are your thoughts here?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I think that it's one of these things that, really, a good artist could do this anyway. Now, making it obviously more accessible to whatever the lay person that might not be really good with Photoshop or something. I don't know. I think that there's I don't know. I think there's more relevant shit to get your get all worked up about than this. But I mean, I kind of see where they're coming from, but it's really, I mean, it's not. It is a person naked, but it's not that person naked. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like it's guessing on all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
so
this is to me, I think is just really, really, really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because you would be in this state of just like, I mean,
wow, yeah, dude, it dropped on the 23rd.
Yeah, and I just think that the interesting part for me is, I mean, I remember in the early mid 2000s,
Yeah.
You would just like, when you're in, middle school or high school, somebody would be like, "Oh man, here's an image of whatever celebrity, nude," and it's like obviously somebody's face photoshopped onto like some, porn star or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that's really all this is. But I mean, I can imagine that like I see how it could be offensive, and obviously if this is like your wife or your daughter or whatever, I could see how that could be disturbing. But and like, should it have been removed? I mean, I guess I don't really give a shit. Whatever. I mean, if it abridged some rule or whatever on a website, or excuse me, on an app store or whatever, sure, it should have been kicked off. But it's just so interesting how we're entering this place where technology is outpacing like even our ability to like frame the problem. You know what I mean? To like frame what's actually going on. I think that's the thing that's like really, really intriguing to me. Because I mean, if I told you that like, like you said, it had been outlawed, like, by national decree or whatever the fuck, right? It had been outlawed that anybody, sketch a theoretical nude picture of anybody else. You would just be like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like if you're ever caught, like sketching a picture of someone, of what you think they look like naked, like that would be illegal. You would just be like, huh? But it's just, I mean, and that's what's happening here. But I just think it's really, really interesting. I mean, and the creepy part to me, now, of course, this is like, not a huge deal, because this is just some shitty little app that just, shows you what this person might look like naked.
Yeah.
But what's creepy to me is we are just quickly entering a place where we don't have the ability to tell what's real, like, at all.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's these and I'm not saying what's real in terms of like, is this a nude picture of like this chick I go to college with or whatever,
Hmm.
right? Or my coworker. I'm
Yeah.
saying like, how do you know anything's real? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like, isn't this the problem that like, like horribly schizophrenic people have? You know?
We're just turning the nation into a nation of schizophrenics,
Yeah, I mean,
paranoid schizophrenics,
paranoid
man.
schizophrenia. I mean, but really, right? Like, you
Yeah,
just not being able to tell what's real and what's not real.
we're
And
gaslighting ourselves.
and right, and just having just not being able to understand or kind of you have no touchstone.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You have no way of kind of like reverting back on like a far enough, with this technology on a long enough timeline. Like you just don't. There's no way to tell what is real and what is not real. And that,
Hmm.
I think that to me is like the really, really, really crazy part about this, because
Yeah,
it's like you can't, like, you could see, a car chase, but is it really, right?
yeah,
Like you could
yeah,
see, and it's just like, I don't know. I think that's the place that I kind of go with this. That's just super super crazy. I mean, the deep nudes thing
hmm,
is interesting because it's like it is getting such a strong reaction,
hmm,
um, getting such a strong reaction from society in this way because it's just like the low hanging fruit, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, and we could all imagine how this could be abused in a way that would be like deeply offensive to us or upsetting to us or whatever.
hmm,
But it's kind of like walking that forward and then just being like, I don't know, is the cute cat video real? Like, I don't know what I'm seeing or what I'm hearing. I have no idea if most of what I'm doing in my life
hmm,
is real or not.
yeah,
Like, that's just fucking crazy to think
yeah.
about.
No, it's completely crazy, man.
But I mean,
But
I mean, it probably should have been suspended. I mean, I'm not gonna. I just think it's really really interesting. That's my
mhm,
thing. It's just the strength of reaction here. It's like it's very obvious when it's like I said, your girlfriend or or significant other, sister or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
That's having this, or whatever, so a celebrity that you really like that's being kind of degraded in this way or whatever, but like
yeah,
walking that forward and thinking about that technology being applied to things that are seemingly just mundane but
hmm,
still reality shaping, right?
yeah, yeah,
Is the more disturbing and interesting idea to me. So
yeah, for sure,
but
man.
anyway, okay. So Apple,
Yeah.
the Titan Apple has had a departure.
Yeah, man. So I wanted to touch on this one just a little bit, because hell, it was all
I'm
over
gonna
the.
mute to save everybody from this hissing sprinkling that's happening behind.
All right, that works. It, but anyway, so I wanted to cover this one because it was all over the news, and this marks a very pivotal point in history for Apple. And I believe it's pronounced Joni Ive. He's leaving Apple. So I pulled this article from Wired, and if you don't know who this is, he hopped on with Apple back in 1992, and then he became senior vice president of industrial design in '97. So once he became like kind of the head of the design for Apple, he ended up designing the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, the iWatch, and even the Apple storefront kind of thing for online. So I mean, this guy was huge, a huge piece of their design team for hardware. Well, it has kind of come to light that Apple is trying to migrate from a hardware company to more of a software services company kind of thing. And kind of hopping back to the other article that we had covered a little while ago about Spotify, because they actually had some numbers in regards to Apple Music versus Spotify. And I didn't realize that Apple Music was even as big as it is. But apparently, according to that TechCrunch article earlier from the Spotify thing, in March of 2019, Spotify had 100 million subscribers. And then in June of 2019, Apple Music just hit 60 million. So I didn't even realize that they were that close to Spotify, but they still have some ground to make up, because I think Spotify had something like 217 million total monthly users. So people that are hopping on using Spotify monthly, 217 million people. But anyway, hopping back to the Joni Ive stuff, this is just going to be like I said, a very pivotal point in history for Apple. And I'm kind of wondering if they're going to even be able to survive this, because I don't know how you would pivot Apple into a solely software services kind of company, because it's like, other than Apple, I think Apple TV, can you subscribe to different channels and stuff on Apple TV? Is that how that works? I'm not that familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with Apple TV. And I thought that Apple TV was just a piece
like
of
a means to stream shit,
yeah,
basically.
Exactly. But I mean, I think that the move from hardware to software is actually a good move. But I just think that it is I don't know. It's just a race to the bottom, dude. This is the crazy part, man. Like having hardware is becoming completely and utterly commoditized. Right? Like there's kind of no way around it. I mean, think about it, right? Like the capabilities of smartphones are just all kind of pretty much the same. You know what I mean? Like you're not like there's not one I don't know. The world is just changing so quickly when it comes to hardware. Seems to be that we're moving towards this the level of commoditization in hardware generally. And then past that, and saying that you're going to be specializing in software, that just seems to be like software is for the most part. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely proprietary aspects, obviously proprietary aspects of software, but I mean, certainly the languages that you're using and the way that these languages, there are, a multitude, innumerable ways that you can, do the same action with different configurations of code, but it's just interesting to see. That this is like an admission, in my mind, that hardware is becoming commoditized. This is the same thing that car companies are dealing with.
Yeah.
That like the if you get into like a really nice Hyundai, like how different really is your experience from this Hyundai to, I mean, I'm saying like you hop into an Uber that is a nice Hyundai, right?
Yeah.
Well, how different is your experience between that and a Honda and an Uber that is a Honda and an Uber that is a Toyota and an Uber that it's just kind of all the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're not like oohing and eyeing over the contours of this thing. It's just like people don't give a shit, right?
Well,
And
it's just yeah, it's just got a different skin over it, basically.
well, and
You
so
know.
then and so then you're thinking you're looking at like at then you're like looking at um, you're looking at the software that it takes to the software that it takes to um, God, I just lost my train of thought. The
Mhm.
software that it takes to kind of get that hardware where it needs to be,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so like I think I understand the what the play is and like what they're after here.
hmm
Uh, but it's just, man, that's going to be a tough, tough, tough road to hoe.
yeah,
But and also it's kind of interesting. I mean, not to say what would Jobs do, but what would Jobs have done, right?
yeah, yeah,
Uh, because it's almost, companies rise and fall. Apple was the first company to be worth $1 trillion in the
yeah,
history of the world, right?
yeah,
But it's kind of like they've reached the paramount here, and they're maybe kind of on a slide to be, ultimately hacked apart and kind of turned into, their software group, or excuse me, their hardware groups absorbed by, you know, big factories in Vietnam that are just willing to, put together commoditized hardware. And then the software is just going to be like smaller groups of people trying to run these proprietary, code bases,
yeah.
what I mean by that is like, to run a software group, you certainly don't need as many fucking people as Apple has under hat, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they've seen the crazy crazy decline in just the interest of purchasing brand new iPhones. I forgot what I was looking at the other day, but it was
hmm
like it was pretty striking.
yeah,
Most people are hanging on to their phones for years now, right?
yeah, yeah.
So it's just really, an interesting
Well, and
idea.
that was actually something that I was gonna kind of bring up is the fact that I mean Apple really hasn't had any like big development in or leaps forward in development of hardware since Jobs died, pretty
Right,
much.
right.
Because I mean, you think about the design and stuff of the whatever the newest iPhone versus when Jobs was still alive. Did he die? He died in like what, like 2011 or something like that?
Um,
Or was it earlier than that?
yes, yeah, I think you're right. It's
Some
2010 or
around,
11. Yeah,
yeah, around then. So I mean, we're talking about. I think we were around like that the iPhone like maybe like 5 or 4S or something like that.
right.
And really, man, since then, nothing has come out of Apple that's been like, whatever that's like wowed people. But with the exception of the new, did you see the new MacBook? Or no, not a MacBook. It's the Mac Pro or whatever. That the monitor is like $4,000 or something like that, and the stand for the monitor is $1,000.
God,
There's a there at the WWDC when they announced this shit. Oh my God, there's literally they ended up post production editing the boos from developers because when they announced that the stand was $1,000, like when it was live, you could hear an audible boo. And like once Apple didn't put it immediately up on their website, they took that stream or whatever and edited down the boos.
yeah, that's
It's like it was fucking crazy, dude. And it was covered on No Agenda, and like oh my god, man, it was like crazy because he played like the whatever the live version, then he played like the one that Apple posted on their actual website,
right,
and
right.
you can't hear the boos, like they're inaudible.
Yeah, yeah, man.
But yeah, and I think it's just one of those things that the whatever the sleek and simple design of an Apple device, the novelty is kind of worn out, you know. So it's just kind of one
Yeah,
of those things that
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I mean, it's just, dude, it's the state of things, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it works. Like you just have phases and cycles of production and things that are popular and things that become less popular and but I mean it is the way that it is, and it's like I mean here's a really interesting note actually. Let me just look this up. Bear with me.
No, you're good.
Of companies.
Well, so while you're doing that, I'll cruise into this. This is kind of wrapping the article, but the interesting thing about this is, first of all, he's not retiring. Joni Ive is actually leaving to start another, or to start a design company with I think somebody else. Let's see, it's also
Okay.
I think yeah, Mark Newsom is helping him. But sorry, go ahead.
Okay, here's what I was going to say. Right. So, are you familiar with the Fortune 500?
Yeah.
Right. So, from 1955 to 2017, of the Fortune 500 companies, only 60 remain still in the Fortune 500.
Oh wow.
So that is to show you that massive companies move in and out and up and down all the time, right? And so it is. That's just the way that it goes, man. And so I think that when we look at companies like Apple, I mean, there was a time when people looked at General Electric and they were like, "That's never going anywhere,"
Yeah. Yeah.
And General Electric was reduced to.
What about fucking Sears?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Sears Roebuck, man. It's like they dominated the department store world for like 70 years or some shit, or 100 years.
That's exactly right. But it's just interesting because I mean, again, these things change and I think without a doubt creating this hardware, I mean, it's becoming commoditized, and it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with this.
Yeah, yeah. So just to wrap this real quick, so he is leaving to start this company called Love From, which I tried to find some information about them, but they're not actually supposed to launch until 2020. So there's like little to nothing, but it is supposed to be some kind of design company,
right?
And but so he was interviewed. Ive was interviewed, and he said, "This just seems like a natural and gentle time to make this change." Speaking about leaving the company,
right?
And I think that that's kind of interesting that he, because in my opinion, I almost see this as kind of jumping ship because of an unsure future for the company. Because I think that it's going to be not only very difficult for them to evolve into a software services company, but this is also coming at the same time that all of this shit has happened with China, and it's like harder and harder to get hardware, from them, and I don't know. It just seems kind of interesting that he would choose now, I guess.
Well, I will tell you this: Joni Ive, net worth $130 million in 2013. Right?
Oh wow, yeah.
So I think he gonna be all right. This man is gonna be all right. So, okay.
Anyway.
So trucking on here.
Yeah.
There was an article, and we've talked about this a couple of times, but there was an article on. I think this was from RT.com. A couple of different agencies covered this, but
Yeah.
the this is, by the way, this is the shameless Bitcoin plug, just because we've talked about cryptocurrencies and as a lot of people have, but this is just it's an interesting idea here. The golden asteroid. So this is a article in RT.com. The golden asteroid that can make everyone on Earth a billionaire, right? And what they get into here is that that there is an asteroid that contains massive quantities of gold, iron, and nickel. Let's see. And now they're saying that NASA is planning on starting the process of figuring out a way to land on this asteroid beginning in 2022. And this is something we've talked about, is asteroid mining, right? And so, but here is what's so interesting about this to me. Like, you just do not understand just basic fucking economics to make a knuckleheaded comment like this, right?
Yeah,
The golden asteroid that could make everyone on Earth a billionaire. If all of a sudden you have billions of tons or whatever, right? Hundreds of millions of tons. Not billions, that was a silly thing to say, but 100 million tons or whatever absurd amount of gold.
Yeah.
Well, then gold is not worth what it is worth now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that is that is simple. The reason that it is worth what it is worth is because of scarcity. That's it. That's the only reason anything's worth anything.
Yeah.
How much of it is there, and how many people want it? How many people want this scarce resource, right?
If everybody's a billionaire, nobody's a billionaire.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Right. And so it's just, it's really interesting because as we talk, and you and I briefly touched on this the other day, but as we think about value on Earth, and I won't dwell on this because I know that this is a huge rabbit hole, and I know that we're kind of coming to time here. But as we think about value on Earth, right? Gold is the centerpiece. Period. I mean,
it's the standard, man.
And I mean, right. And when you say standard, it is. You don't mean that literally. It is not the standard any longer. But this idea of of value, and value being, being made portable and modular, and like value being translated into money, and like this idea of moneyness and the things that make money, a useful tool, right? Which again is like things like modularity, things like portability, being able to have value in your pocket and exchange it easily, right? And so even now, we're in this kind of house of cards value situation where the dollar floats against all these other things that are floating, and they're all just kind of in this, like, monetary, shaky monetary pyramid, right? Or shaky monetary structure or whatever. It's just interesting because, as we move into this phase of cryptocurrencies and well, I fucking hate that term, but like digital assets, right?
Yeah.
And digital assets being worth something and being handled in a different way and whatever. And, you hear Bitcoin being compared to gold, and this is why it's different, right? Is because asteroid mining is real, and it is theoretically real. It will be really real in short order.
It'll be real.
It'll be real in short order, and it will change the dynamics of value on Earth.
Yeah.
Period. And things like asteroid mining will fuel, our ability to kind of reach beyond Earth and provide, the ore and the precious metals and I mean, maybe not so precious if you've got, another 100 million tons of them or whatever, but this will fuel resources that we will need to do things past Earth, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of value on Earth, this is why it's so interesting, is, Bitcoin, like, yes, there will be forks and those forks will go and be specialized and do their thing. But as far as BTC goes, there is no more BTC that is being made, right? 21
Yeah, I was going to say 21 million.
Yeah, 21 million. But that doesn't mean that only 21 million people can own it. You can take that 21 million and you can divide it by another 100 million, because a Satoshi is the unit of a Satoshi is 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. And so anyway, that is why I think that this is going to get so interesting in the near future, and why Bitcoin is, I'm very bullish Bitcoin. It's going to be interesting, but asteroid mining, man, it is around the fucking corner. If NASA, which is like the slowest, most kludgy agency, of anyone that's exploring space, is talking about 2022, dude, there are people that have probably already, shot shit out into the infinity trying to mine these things now, So
yeah. So how much how much do they think the precious heavy metals were worth on this asteroid total?
You mean just the metals that were on here?
If we were able to harness this shit and mine it until
it was something silly. By the way, they said, let's see, bear with me just a second. It was something like, right. God, so fucking stupid. Let's see. We've already identified an asteroid worth 700 quintillion in precious heavy metals. Like, what?
Nice.
Are you studying, dude? And
we're all gonna be rich.
And you and I you were talking about this, and you were like, well, what if it's the type thing where they're like, what if it's the type thing where, God damn! I just read this one sentence. Yes, there's already a global market for asteroid mining, and Allied Market Research estimates that it will top 3.8 billion by 2025. I don't know. I haven't read of anybody actually mining an asteroid, though. That's kind of interesting. But anyway, I mean, that's just not like another small asteroid measuring 200 meters in length that could be worth 30 billion in platinum. It's just not the fucking way that it works, dude.
Yeah.
If you, and then you were talking about, could they do something like a De Beers strategy where they have this and then restrict access or whatever. Mm-hmm. And like, it's possible. Mm-hmm. And I mean, sure, why not? It's possible. But I mean, I think, and people hate on capitalism, but that's the beauty of capitalism. Yeah. If something comes available, it will be brought to market if there's a need for it, right? Mm-hmm. And so, if for some reason I was thinking that platinum was involved in a like some industrial process that was pretty surprising. But it's like, if gold is more useful in circuit boards for some reason, mm-hmm. and the gold is available, it's not cost prohibitive, thus making you seek a cheaper material. That's what you'll use. And so if it then has a use, so the instead of charging however much it is an ounce, if now that drops to $50 an ounce, but that means that we can, you can, instead of charging, a super high margin for this precious metal, you can instead make a ton of money based on the volume of this precious metal that you're moving, then people will move it. And capitalism says that market will do its best to try to reach equilibrium, right? Yeah. And I think that's like the really interesting part here is that I mean, it is possible that there is like some sort of De Beers model, but I think that they're I don't know. We're just headed into some really, really interesting territory with this stuff. You
Yeah.
know, who's gonna claim it? Who's gonna like? How do you put a stake in a fucking asteroid that's like flying by the Earth? You know, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, I think that the new standard is going to be silly putty, so that's where my
me too.
investments
So
are
I'm
going.
hoarding it. I'm gonna head down to the dollar store after this. And, and
I mean,
y'all,
think about
y'all got any more putty? Y'all got any more putty back there?
I'm on the black market for putty.
Yeah, me
The
too.
putty black market,
On
man.
the putty black market. Now you're just sitting in a room, just transferring like newspaper print to putty,
Yeah.
putting it in shadow boxes.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
all right,
So
home stretch here.
yeah, man. So and we'll probably cover this one semi quick. But I pulled this one from the Independent. The truth behind the story of the man left, quote, looking like a mummy after surviving a month as a Siberian bear's captive. So there's a story that came out that got a pretty sizable amount of traction online. I mean, it's super clickbaity kind of shit, but it was pretty wild. And it was basically the long and the short of it was this guy who was named Alexander, supposedly, had been attacked by a bear, and the bear took him. It broke his back, so he was unable to move much, and it took him to its cave, and basically kept him there for a month, and like I guess it would eat on him because like his legs in the video.
Wait, and how did you find that this was a hoax? Where did you see this?
This article, this independent article.
Oh, okay. Oh, you already updated it. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
But anyway, so basically what happened is he was like, "Oh, I had to drink my own urine, I was, it was a miracle that I didn't die, all this jazz kind of thing." And so everybody's like, "Oh, wow, this is crazy. This is crazy." Plus there's a video that goes along with it. And this is the funny thing about I don't know, I feel like we come full circle on these episodes a lot of the time because this kind of goes back to the deep fake shit. So in this video, it's either a very convincing puppet kind of thing, and like some kind of animatronic kind of shit, or they put a lot of makeup on this man and made him look like I mean it's pretty wild, and I would definitely recommend to everyone to either Google it or just check out the show notes or something. But so yeah, and so that was kind of the long and the short of it. Really crazy, whatever. Well, so then an article or articles start surfacing that all this shit's fake. And so what had happened was there was an article that came out by in like Russian tabloids that these teenagers had like a video of this guy that had been basically buried alive and in a cemetery by accident, I guess, and he crawled out from under the ground kind of thing, and this was the evidence. Well, the crazy thing about the evidence that they had, and they ran this story on June 19th, and this other one came out like, I don't know, probably about a week after. They used the exact same photos and like video, and the guy's name was Alexander. And so everybody's like, wait a second. Or I say everybody, the people that were investigating the validity of this article were like, wait a second, dude. This is way too coincidental. Mm-hmm. So they start looking into it and start reaching out to these publications, and basically they were like, oh yeah, it's actually fake.
Right.
It was not a real story. But the problem was is it had already been run on all these websites and stuff, and I mean, like they accrued. I think the EA Daily was the first one to run the article, and they accrued something like over 300,000 views from that one article. So a lot of happy ad buyers, basically, you know. But yeah, so they basically looked into it, and yeah, it was deep fake, man, fake news. So
Yeah, man.
um,
I think that is it's just it's so interesting, man. So
well,
interesting.
it's just crazy. It's crazy because like you were saying earlier in the episode, perception is reality, and this stuff we're failing to be able to keep a good foothold on reality these days, and what is real, and the ability to discern real and fake.
And it's just here's the crazy part, man. It happens so quickly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I mean, dude,
it
I feel
just
like this
it
is with
goes. Go
like
ahead.
5-7 years kind of thing. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
yeah,
that this is developed, and that this the tech has emerged to the point to where people are able to reskin people's faces in videos at higher qualities. Because I mean, when people would do that shit back in the in the earlier days of the internet, it would be super fucking low resolution, probably bad lighting, basically everything that would make it it would be more on the person watching it
right,
to use their imagination kind of
right,
thing to make
right,
it a reality. But
right.
now it's like fucking, high res imagery. They've produced the sound really well. They've got like whatever, some kind of a voice actor that sounded very, very, similar to whoever they're acting like.
Right.
And man, it's crazy. It's some crazy shit, man. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is. Yeah, it's just gonna be. It is gonna be a wild, wild, wild fucking ride, and I just don't think anybody is like ready for this because we've got this like hyper. um God, what's the best word to put it? Like this hyper publication system, right? That we call viral news.
yeah,
That is just alive and ready, right? And it's just people glued to their fucking phones, ready to click, anything, right? And when clickbait and actual meaningful world developments in the world, in the world's political situation, or in pick something, right? Meaningful developments in the world around you
yeah.
are indeterminable from clickbait, like you know,
Well, and it's this 24-hour news shit that it's just, stuff doesn't since everything is being covered, like it basically the shit that actually matters or is seemingly matters less
well, and
kind of
and
thing,
yeah, and it's
you
it's
know.
just it's not uncommon. Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to see how we make the jump to virtual reality. I think it's very easy to see.
Yeah.
Like, and it's almost, I don't know. Have you ever watched videos of Elon Musk explaining why he thinks we live in a projection?
No.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Look it up. It's very. The dude is super interesting. Elon
Yeah.
Musk is such an interesting person, but it
Yeah.
just makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Yeah.
because if you are unable to determine what is real in your reality, then where are you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I mean, think about that, right? If you can't understand the difference between things that are real and things that are not real in your life, then where do you exist?
Yeah.
It's crazy,
Well,
man.
so the thing is I knew that VR had some potential back in the 90s when The Lawnmower Man and Into the Mind's Eye came out.
Yeah, me too, man. What's that thing called? The Nintendo, what was it? The thing that was on the tripod? Do you remember that?
Oh, the Virtual Boy?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like a red tint.
Yeah,
And if you played it too much, you'd get a headache.
I remember, the first time I saw the Virtual Boy, I was just like, oh, brother, here it comes,
And the Nintendo Power Glove.
Power Glove.
That made all Nintendo games fucking impossible to play.
Yeah. The Power Glove,
shit.
which is also probably the name of like a BDSM, like like fisting. Oh yeah, the Power Glove by Black Dominatrix. You know what I mean? Like Leather Mama, and you're like, no, no. This one was by Nintendo, and they're like, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
But
Just when you're looking to punch some balloon knots.
That's exactly right, dude. Yeah. Anyway,
On that note, I believe we have wrapped the episode.
Ding 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 ding. The cookies are ready. All right, here we go.
Oh man.
Social media run through. This has been episode 54, 55.
55.
Episode 55. 3 weeks past 1 year of, delicious weekly creations here. So, you want to shoot us a note? We want to read it. tetherradio@gmail.com. That's tetherradio@gmail.com. On Twitter @tether_radio. Instagram, the same handle @tether_radio. Facebook, Tether Radio, all one word. Come and say hello on any of those mediums. We would love to hear from you. Read a note. Take your suggestion. Maybe we won't take your suggestion. We don't know. But shoot it over. So this has been episode 55 of Tether Radio. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Daniel.
And we are reminding you to stay tethered, dear friends. We will talk to you next week.